Destiny 2 right now is in a bad spot. Let's be honest, it's not doing so hot. And this is not just me talking about like one little thing, this is many things that are causing Destiny 2 to be a nightmare for a lot of players. A lot of hardcore players and even casuals. It doesn't matter, it's affecting everybody. And one of those things is, of course, sunsetting. A while back when they first announced the sunsetting feature, I talked about my thoughts on it. I was mixed because I could see the benefits of it. I could see that they could do something good with sunsetting being a thing, making weapons, all weapons, very fun and enjoyable and powerful, and not worry about those things because they'll expire anyways within a year. But the other part of me was like, well, if this is a last minute idea kind of thing to just kind of move us away by force, away from like Recluse and such, this is not going to be good at all. And it's going to be one big reason why people are going to be fatigued on grinding for anything inside of Destiny 2. Well, to no surprise, Destiny 2 sunsetting just doesn't feel like it was well thought out at all. And that's bad. I know that right now there is a sliver of hope that down the road it will get better. But I'm getting tired of that. Honestly, these things should be thought out right from the get-go. If they were not ready to do sunsetting the way that they were going to, maybe not do it right now. Just like the DCV, which I'll probably talk about in a different video as well. Just doesn't feel like it was well thought out on what they were trying to do. They just deleted stuff to make room for what? And the stuff that they left did not get any innovation to them to make them a little bit more exciting to replay those. I mean, for crying out loud, we have Exodus Crash still, and it's still Exodus Crash. That's enough said. But when it comes to sunsetting, one of the big issues that I talked about was that this was going to cause a lot of problems because there's a lot of weapons inside of Destiny, and a lot of those weapons are going to be sunset, so that would require Bungie to make a ton of new weapons to replace those. And with Beyond Light, with no surprise, there wasn't that many weapons. There was no vendor refresh. We didn't see a giant surplus of weapons just showering down on us. And I know that I can honestly say that more weapons doesn't mean much. Like, that's not the only fix. To be honest, if they were to have just the amount of weapons that they have right now, but every single weapon had its own personality that made it amazing, almost feeling like it's a pinnacle, I would be like, yeah, this is okay. But that's not the case. The raid weapons feel exciting, but other than that, nothing outside of the raid weapons doesn't really catch my attention. Especially like the Season the Hunt weapons, I'm just kind of like, it's nothing crazy for me to go and acquire. I mean, Fallen Guillotine, for example, when that was earnable during Season of Arrivals, I kind of expected every weapon to be like that, where there's a giant urge to acquire it. But as of right now, there is none for a lot of weapons, and that's bad. It's causing a lot of people to be tired on grinding because they know that, well, if they go and grind this weapon, it's going to be expired anyways within a year. And that sucks. I even said that one of the things to make sunsetting better was to make things all exciting, but not only that, but lessen the RNG as well. That's another problem that I'm seeing that other players are also talking about as well, is that, well, you're going out and you're grinding for stuff and you're not getting the rolls that you want at all. And it's taking you hours and hours, weeks on weeks. Maybe you'll finally get the role that you want in 6 months. You know what that means? It's expiring in 6 months. No. The whole idea of having something expire within a year doesn't mean that you're going to get that weapon within the first month of the new DLC, expansion, season, whatever. So, yeah, sunsetting, as of right now, has a lot of problems. Now, on top of this, I know that a lot of people were saying, and just like myself, just saying, remove sunsetting. And a lot of people were mentioning, well, then people would just go back to Mountaintop or whatever. To be honest, and I'm being serious, if they were to just sunset the Pinnacles or specific weapons that they personally feel like is a big problem, I'd be fine with that. To be honest, for a easier fix for now, I'd be fine with that until they can actually implement the real idea, if they had one, on what sunsetting was supposed to be. Because right now, this ain't it. It's not. And everybody at this point pretty much agrees. Their idea of fixing the sunsetting problem and the lack of loot to grind, I was shocked to find out that they are reissuing weapons from Shadowkeep and the Dreaming City. Not all of them, like 4. Granted, 2 of them are rocket launchers, so we might as well just say 3 each. Unless they buff rocket launchers. Hopefully that's a hint that they're going to do that for the next season. But regardless, we're going to have these weapons be a non-sunsetted version, and there are new perks to acquire for these weapons as well. Okay, new perks, interesting, fine, whatever, but those are not new weapons in my opinion. It's not. It's not new. And nobody's really excited about it. There's no level of excitement. It's just cool. And on top of this, I understand a lot of people are like, well, why can't they take the weapon from my vault that's the exact same weapon and make me be able to bring that forward? But the problem is now, if they were to do that, they already told us to delete stuff that's sunset, essentially. Like, if you don't want it, then you can delete it if it's sunset. But a lot of people are running into the problem with sunsetting as well, on top of with this topic about deleting and not deleting vault space. Because obviously, one of the biggest modes that people play the most to experiment with weapons and builds is the Crucible. And there is no light level advantages inside of there. So a lot of people are keeping a lot of their weapons that are sunset because they're just, well, maybe there will be a giant buff. A huge buff to scout rifles where they're OP as heck, so I'm going to keep this scout rifle and this scout rifle and so on, even though they're probably not that great right now, and it just leads to your vault being overfilled because of the whole, what if? The other problem with sunsetting that I'm running into is, like I said, grind fatigue. Let's use Trials as an example. And I talked about this in my Trials thoughts as well. And I knew that this was going to be a problem, but not as bad as I thought. Because some weeks when Trials is around, well, one of the weeks, I don't know if they'll fix it with the next week, there was no weapon. There was just an Adept mod. So people are going flawless who probably don't have an Adept yet and are getting an Adept mod and can't even use it. What the flip? But, okay. Going past that, when it comes to weapons, the Adept weapons, you have to go flawless, which requires a lot of time and effort, depending. I mean, if you're a good player at Trials, and you're playing with a team that's also very good, and you go flawless within your first card, so like an hour or so, okay, you get a weapon. But you get a weapon. 1. You want to know how many of the snipers I've gone through so far? That I'm trying to get Snapshot and Vorpal. That's it. That 2 combination of perks. I'm not even talking about the masterwork. I'm not even talking about the scope or whatever, or the perks before that. I'm talking about just Snapshot and Vorpal. 50. I went through 50 snipers. None of them had those. Now imagine if I tried going flawless 50 times. Just imagine how many hours that would be. That's only if I could beat Trials, a card going flawless, in an hour. It would take me 50 hours. I'm going to just say openly that, first of all, no thanks. But second of all, I know that would be unrealistic. It would take way longer. If I would have that horrible RNG that I did when I was turning in tokens, or just acquiring it through the card of wins. The Adepts are the main focus now. If you get a non-Adept, what's the point? Because now there's Adepts that have better everything. Slightly. It's not super crazy, but still. But regardless, you can't go flawless and then have all your tokens, for example, be like 700 of them or something and turn them in to keep trying to get that same Adept. Like, you can't use it like the Spoils of Conquest thing. That sucks. And not only that, but the sniper, for example, for the adept sniper, is only there for a weekend. And then it cycles through everything. And it'll come back maybe 2 months, 3 months later. Who knows? Oof noise. No, thank you. What is this mindset? This is causing too much grind fatigue. And honestly, and I hate to say it, but I really want to know who has these ideas? Who is thinking that these things are okay? Because honestly, for me, this is not okay at all. I would never think to myself and be like, yeah, I think it's okay to have Trials loot work like this when they're going to be sunset. And on top of this, have not a weapon, an adept weapon, some weekends for Trials and just an adept mod. That sounds like a great idea. No. And reissuing weapons, I know a lot of people are freaking out about. I mean, I'm irritated about it, but I'm kind of thinking the reason why that they're personally doing it is because people were complaining that, well, it's $25 to get Shadowkeep and Forsaken, and yet there's like nothing in the loot pools of those DLCs, those expansions, that you can carry over. So they're pointless. So I think that's why that they're trying to do that. But at the same time, it's just proving more and more the ugly face that sunsetting is placing on Destiny 2. Where people are just like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to play this. Your game should be very focused on rewarding those who are putting the time and effort in your game. And I don't feel that at all. The only time and effort that I feel like I'm being rewarded is when I click on spend money on silver to buy a thing right away through the Eververse store. Am I saying to have us purchase weapons? No, I'm making a joke. I'm saying that how quick it is for me to get loot that way instead of any other way. And no, turning in tokens to a vendor is not also a good thing either. I'll be talking about token systems in a different video. But making RNG the way that it is with sunsetting, with reissuing weapons, with the lack of weapons, lack of fun and interesting and powerful weapons as well. And on top of this, I will say this, I know I didn't mention it at all in this video, is armor. Sunsetting armor is also just a joke. Because honestly, at this point, I think everybody, what they're doing is they're grinding for masterworked armor or good stat armor, the beginning of the expansion, and then maybe the next couple seasons try and get armor that they can use for the next expansion. Sunsetting armor just, in my opinion, makes no sense, because on top of this, you're playing RNG on the stats of that as well. I just wanted to talk about my problems with sunsetting. I may make a video talking about what they could do to make Destiny a lot more interesting, but I want to talk about other things as well when it comes to Destiny 2. Not entirely just bad things. I want to talk about ideas to make Destiny a lot more enjoyable, some ideas to make things inside of Destiny a lot more interesting, even if it's the same thing in the game. For example, EDZ, Patrol. How can we make Patrol on the EDZ a lot more fun and exciting and feel fresh and new? I want to talk about these kind of things. But yes, sunsetting, as of right now, no thank you. And, of course, as usual, I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you think that sunsetting is bad? Do you think sunsetting is good? Explain why, and of course, let me know what you think that Bungie could do to make sunsetting not a problem, if they were to keep it. But with that out of the way, have a Chibi-tastic day, night, or evening, wherever you are, and as usual, thank you for listening. Chibi out.